Hi everyone, welcome to Impact Academy. I'm Yashasvi Chintada. Today let us continue with the important one-liners of Indian polity. So last session we have completed till 50 questions. Now let us continue from the 51st one. So the Constituent Assembly of India held its first meeting on, try to remember the date, 9/12/1946. Okay, at least remember December. Okay, 1946. So we got independence in 1947. But the Constituent Assembly first held meeting on December 1946. Okay, and in 1949 November the preamble was adopted, and then in 1950 January 26 the Constitution came into force. Okay, which one of the following acted as the provisional president of the Constituent Assembly? So first provisional president is Sachidananda Sinha. Okay, try to remember that first provincial president of the Constituent Assembly is Sachidananda Sinha. The Constituent Assembly elected on 11/12/1946 as its permanent chairman. Okay, provisional president is Sachidananda Sinha, and permanent chairman of the Constituent Assembly is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Okay, very important. So who is elected, who is elected as the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. So again, this I'm sure everyone is aware, drafting committee is very important committee. It is the committee which is finally responsible for actually drafting the constitution, and it is chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And that is the reason why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is attributed to the, what you say is like attributed as the maker of the constitution, father of the constitution, etc. All those things. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the chairman of the drafting committee, and also there are many other committees, the Union Powers Committee, Steering Committee, all those things, and Law Committee, etc. etc. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the chairman of the drafting committee, and again the chairman of the drafting committee to prepare a draft constitution of India was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, all those it's very standard point, everybody knows. So the name of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is associated with which of the following? Chairman of drafting committee. Fine. And also in general, B.R. Ambedkar, there are many things like whatever organizations, whatever movements he has started, whatever books he has written, all those things are very important. Usually in the mains also you get a standalone question on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who among the following was member of the drafting committee? So chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Who are the other members? Gopalachari Iyengar and Alladi Krishnaswamy. This is also very important. You have to remember the members of the drafting committee. Okay. Many provisions in our constitution have been borrowed from the Government of India Act of, you can say 1919 also, but you can also say 1935, because if you look at the sources of the constitution, 1935, Government of India Act 1935, we have borrowed the federal scheme, okay, Office of Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commissions, emergency provisions, and administrative details, etc. So most of it we have borrowed from the Government of India Act of 1935. Significant percentage of the constitution. So I would say this would be better if you go with 1935, not 1919. Anyway, so the Government of India Act 1919 introduced a system of diarchy in the provinces. Diarchy means a system of double government. So already I told you many times. So 1909, Indian Councils Act of 1909 is one landmark thing. What is the act, and it is called as Morley Minto reforms. And immediately 10 years after, Government of India Act 1999, 1919 is called as Montague Chelmsford reforms. These two are very important. Now, if you observe 1909, the important thing is it introduced separate electorates for Muslims. And recently, this question was asked for the Group 2 prelims, right? Okay. And you can see it provided for the first time association of Indians with the Executive Council of the Viceroy. So previously, also we have seen um, some Indians associated. Okay, just a minute. See, in Indian Councils Act of 1861, 3 Indians were nominated. Okay, to the viceroys, what you say, non-official members of the expanded council. They were Raja of Benares, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. That was just part of the council, viceroy's council. I mean, it's just what you say, nominal. It does not have any powers, and that is Indian Councils Act of 1861. Very important. Try to remember. Now, in 1909, for the first time, Sachendra Prasad Sinha became the first Indian to join the Viceroy's Executive Council. He was appointed as the law member. Very important. Okay, Executive Council. That means he will have some powers. And in Government of India 1919, all these are important. Main thing is the diarchy was introduced in provinces. Diarchy means reserved subjects and transferred subjects. So reserved subjects are those subjects which are very important. So all those are held with the governor himself. So the power was not actually transferred to the Indians. Only on transferred subjects which are not very critical, the ministers, the Indians who were elected as ministers or members of the what is the council, etc. They had some powers, but most of the important subjects were kept in reserve. So this idea, this concept is called diarchy. And diarchy in provinces. Okay, it was introduced by Government of India at 1919, and in 1935, immediately diarchy was abolished in the provinces and introduced in the center. So this point is very important. In 1919, diarchy was introduced in provinces. Provinces is more like states. So later it was a failure. So in 1935, diarchy was abolished in the provinces or states, and and provincial autonomy was given in its place. So the states got more power. States is a later term. Provinces got more power, and diarchy was introduced in the center. Okay. Also, if you look at 1919, Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time. This is also very important. Just like how you have separate electorate for Muslims in 1909, and it became bicameral for the first time in 1919. And in 1935, that bicameralism was extended to 6 out of 11 provinces. That is in 1935. So all these are very important points. So the government of India Act 1919 introduced a system of diarchy in the provinces. And diarchy means a system of double government. And in 1935, the diarchy in provinces was abolished and provincial autonomy was introduced in its place. And diarchy was, diarchy was introduced in the center. Okay, all that is very important. So when was the Constituent Assembly established to form the Constitution? So we've seen December 1946. Remember at least that. If you can remember the whole date, it is good. But at least remember in December 1946. And the Constitution of India was adopted on 26th November 1949. So this we are talking about the preamble. Okay. The Constitution of India came into force on this. I'm sure everyone is aware. The Republic Day, 26th Jan 1950. So observe the wording. Adopted. We are talking about preamble 1949. And if it is came into force or came into being, then it is 1950, 26 Jan. Observe that difference very clearly. So the Constitution of India contains 444 articles, 24 parts, and 12 schedules. So let us just quickly cross check. And if we are talking about, this is the number of parts. Okay. So the number of parts we have 22. 22, and you have 14A, which is tribunal, that means 23, and you have fundamental duties 24, and you have municipalities, okay, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, right? 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So right now you have total of 26 parts. Okay, remember that 26 parts, because this municipalities was added very recently. Okay, this municipalities, cooperative societies especially. Municipalities was there, sorry, before only. This cooperative societies was added quite recently. And number of articles are 395. Okay, the number is 395, but if you observe, many articles have subparts. So that will increase to 444, and the number of schedules. Okay, the number of schedules is initially it was 8. Later it was added to just one. So right now, if you look at the total number of articles, it is 448. Try to remember this. There are total of 448 articles. Okay, originally there are 395, but because of the subparts, right now there are 448 articles. And if you look at the total number of parts, there are 25. Originally there are 22. Now there are 25 parts. Remember that. So this is 448 updated. This is 25, and this is 12 parts, 12 schedules. So schedules are also very important. If you look at the schedules, initially you had first schedule, second schedule, third schedule, okay, all these things. And fourth schedule, allocation of seats in Rajya Sabha to the states and union territories. Fifth and sixth deal with the provisions related to scheduled tribes and scheduled areas. Fifth one, in general, and sixth schedule deals exclusively with Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. Because the tribes in this region have not assimilated to the what is it, the culture of the main fold. And seventh schedule is division of powers. Union list 1, state list 2, and concurrent list 3. And union list contains 100 subjects. Okay, state list contains 61, and concurrent list contains 52. All these are very important. Eighth schedule contains languages. Currently there are 22. Initially there were 14, but now there are 22. And you have to remember all these things. Okay, Sindhi was added by 21st Amendment Act of 1967. Okay, first Sindhi was added, and then you have Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali, etc. 71st Amendment Act of 1992. And Bodo, Dongri, Maithili, and Santali were added by 92nd Amendment Act of 2003. Okay, all these are very important. And recently, Farsi, which is Persian, was given the classical status. Out of these languages, Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam has what you say classical status. Later, Pali and Prakrit were added. Now, Farsi is also added recently. That's also very important. So initially, 8 schedules were there. Later on, 9 schedule was added by the First Amendment of 1951, and all the land reforms, everything were kept in the 9th schedule so as to protect it from judicial review. But again, Supreme Court said that after April 24, 1973, all the laws are open to judicial review. So before 1973, all those land reform laws which have been put in the 9th schedule are not open to judicial review. Otherwise, because of right to property, etc., everyone will go to court and all the reforms will get damaged. 10th schedule, very important, 52nd Amendment Act of 1985. It is also called as anti-defection law. 11th schedule, about panchayats, 29 matters. 12th schedule, municipalities, 18 matters. This is 73rd, 74th, both are 1992. So all these are very, very, very important. So how much time did the Constituent Assembly take to prepare the Constitution of India? So it took around 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Try to remember that. Sometimes such questions can be asked, at least in statement. They can say 3 years, 11 months, 18 days, etc. So you should be able to identify. So you have to remember 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. So who had given the idea of a constitution for India? This is also a frequently asked question. It is M.N. Roy. He is a pioneer in the communist movement. He had given the idea of a constitution for India. So back in 1935, at that period itself, he has proposed that India should also have a constitution. The Constitution of India is written and bulky document. So in general, if you look at the salient features of the Constitution also, it is called the lengthiest written document because it has so many articles, etc., and it is drawn from various sources. By that time, all the major countries had already written their constitution. So we have taken all the best from everywhere. It's a blend of rigidity and flexibility. So you can say Article 368. So you can amend it, but that amending power is limited. It's a federal system with unitary bias, and especially Article 1 defines union of states and not federation. So all these are very important points. Article 1 defines us as India, that is Bharat, is a union of states, not a federation. So the constitution does not use the word federation. It uses the word union of states. And written constitution, supremacy of the constitution, bicameralism, judiciary, all the strong centers, single constitution, single citizenship, all that. Parliamentary form of government, because it what you say, if in the parliamentary form of government, one thing is the people are already aware about it because of the British rule, and also it is a responsible government. Okay, the presidential government is not responsible. Okay, in the presidential form, The president is not answerable to the Senate, but here the ministers, what is it, the legislature is answerable to the parliament. So it's a responsible government. Synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy, integrated and independent judiciary, and single citizenship. These are some of the salient features of the constitution. Constitution 67th one. The constitution framed by a committee consisting of the people representative is called as written constitution. Fine. Just remember that. Constitution which provides for a series of semi-autonomous states joined together as a nation is called federal constitution. Okay, semi-autonomous states joined together is called federal constitution, like you see in the United States, Canada, etc. But in India, federal is not used. Though ours is a federal structure with unitary control, it is not federal is not mentioned anywhere. It has been mentioned as union of states in Article 1. Centralization of power is an important feature in federal constitution. Okay, even though the states are autonomous in their own fields, there is centralization of power in a federal constitution, especially in defense, banking, etc. All the important critical, what you say, critical fields, the central has the most say. The constitution, which can be amended by a simple act of legislature, is known as flexible constitution, and we are talking about Article 360. Okay, and the constitution can be amended in three ways: by simple majority, by special majority, and also by along with special majority ratification of more than half of the states. So all those things are important points. So which one of the following provisions of the constitution came into force soon after its adoption? So we're talking about adoption. That means we're talking about preamble. So it is 26 November 1949. If it is coming into force, it is 26 Jan 1950. And what are the things that came immediately after preamble? Provisional parliament, provisions relating to citizenship and elections. So in 1950, the whole constitution came into force. But 1949 itself, these things that a provisional parliament was in place and provisions relating to citizenship. Okay, by the time the citizenship provisions have started taking into action, and elections also, because elections had to be what you say conducted for what for the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, etc. Okay, so India has been described under Article 1 as Union of States, not federal, union. The Constitution of India is partly rigid and partly flexible. We have seen the salient features. It is partly rigid because we have the basic structure of the Constitution. Basic structure means secular nature, supremacy of the Constitution, individual judiciary, all these things form part of the rigidity. And flexible part is Article 368. The Constitution of India describes India as the Union of States. The Indian Constitution is recognized as federal in form and unitary in spirit. Okay, so we have the states, and states are autonomous in their own, especially police, law and order, and there are several. If you look at the state list, there is a big list. Okay, 61 items which exclusively the states have power. So they are federal in nature, but unitary in spirit because IAS officers are appointed by the center, governors are appointed by the center, and concurrent list the center has more powers. Many important critical issues, okay, all are in the union list. All these things. The feature common of both Indian and American federation is Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution. And with this, we can say Article 142, 143. Okay, those are very important. We have already seen, right? Very important. The Supreme Court will interpret the Constitution. The Indian Constitution came into force on 26 Jan 1950. Force. Remember, when it came into force, it is the Republic Day. Hence, this day is celebrated as the Republic Day. And January 26 was selected as the date of inauguration of the Constitution because Congress had observed it as Independence Day in 1930. So, if you look at the INC sessions 1930, so 1930 here is missing. They passed the resolution for Purna Swaraj. And 26 January is observed as Independence Day. Already back then in 1930 itself, they passed a resolution for Purna Swaraj. Okay, into 1929 and 1930 January 26 was observed as the Independence Day. Here it is missing. So because of that, we have again chosen January 26, but this time it is 1950 because the Congress had already observed January 26th as Independence Day in 1930. So 26 November 1949, we are talking about 1949. It is preamble. Significant day because the Constitution was adopted, not came into force. It was adopted in on 26 November 1949. It is in the preamble. So, which one of the following exercised the most profound influence on the Indian Constitution? The GOA Act of 1935. As I said, we have borrowed extensively from the GOA Act of 1935. So, the parliamentary system of government in India is based on the pattern of Great Britain. Definitely, the parliamentary system is borrowed from the Great Britain. So, if you look at the sources of the Constitution, from the British Constitution, we have taken the parliamentary government, rule of law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative Brits also, parliamentary privileges, and bicameralism also. Bicameral means both what you say assembly and council. Just like we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and we have assembly and the MLC, right? The members of legislative council, the legislative council, and the legislative assembly. That is why if you get elected to the assembly, you are called a MLA, member of the legislative assembly. And if you get elected to the what is a council, you are called an MLC, member of the legislative council. On the other hand, in the Rajya Sabha, you are a member of the parliament. That's why you are called as a MP. Whether it is Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, you are an MP. Because the parliament is the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the president. Combined, they form the parliament. All those are very important points. Remember that. To whom does the people of India gave the constitution? To themselves. If you look at the preamble, so the preamble is also very important. The preamble frequently questions are asked. We the people of India, okay, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular was not there, okay, democratic republic, and secular came later on. Secular, socialist, and integrity came later on. And we intend to secure justice, social, economic, and political justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among all fraternity, and assuring the dignity of individual and unity and integrity of nation. So, in our Constituent Assembly, 26th day of November 1949, okay, 26th November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. So we are giving to ourselves. All those points are very important. Frequently questions will be asked. So to whom does the people of India give the constitution? Themselves. The beginning word we in the preamble refers to the citizens of India. We the people of India. Okay, we are the citizens of India. The important test to identify the basic features of the Indian constitution is the preamble. Okay, so the preamble, though it does not have any powers or what you say, it cannot be. I mean, you cannot go to court or anything. It shows about the mind of the makers of the constitution. It is the preface to the constitution. It is like an ID card to the constitution. All those things have been set by prominent people. Fine. So you can identify the what it is going to look like our constitution preamble. It is saying sovereign, democratic, republic, socialist, secular, integrity, justice, freedom, all those things, right? The preamble of the constitution contains fraternity, democracy, sovereignty. Again, just now we have seen all those things. India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Fine. In the Indian constitution, this expression occurs in preamble. We have seen just now. The preamble to the constitution declares India as sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic. Fine. The preamble of Indian constitution has been amended only once. Very important. And when was it amended? 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Okay. So if you look at the Amendment Acts, where are they? Just a minute. Constitutional amendments. So if you look at the 42nd, this is called as a mini constitution. Very important because it had made See, it is in 1976, immediately after the 1975 emergency. So many changes were made. It is called as a mini constitution, and it was based on the recommendations of Swaran Singh Committee. Very important. Swaran Singh Committee 1976 is also very important. And the same committee gave fundamental duties also. See, it added fundamental duties, part 4A, added three new words, socialist, secular, and integrity. And this was the first time and the only time preamble was amended. Okay. And it increased term to 6 years, which was later reverted in 44th Amendment Act. Okay. And several things. And facilitated the proclamation of national emergency only in a part of India. It added three new directive principles: equal justice, free legal aid, participation of workers, etc. All this will come under around 43, 44, and 43, mostly 40, 41, 43, etc. Okay, those are important. Protection of environment, forests, and wildlife, that will come around in, I believe, 46. We'll look into that. So, all these things, very, very, very important. 42 is called 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 is called as mini constitution, and it gave effect to the recommendations of Swaran Singh Committee. So it was amended in 47th Amendment Act 1976 only once. Fraternity means spirit of brotherhood. Okay, that is what is meaning of fraternity. Words socialist, secular, and also integrity were added by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. So liberty in our preamble does not include freedom of action. So liberty is what? Liberty of freedom, thought, expression, all those things. So let us look at the preamble. So liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. So belief, faith, and worship, mostly religion, thought, and expression. So there is no action. Okay, you cannot do whatever you want. You don't have the liberty to do whatever you want. There are reasonable restrictions on your liberty. Which among the following is an aid to the statutory interpretation? Obviously, preamble. All these things, what you say, preamble. Which of the key to the which is the key to open the minds of makers of the constitution? The preamble. So, if you look at the preamble, you will get an idea of what the makers are thinking. If the head of a state is an elected functionary for a fixed term, it is known as the republic. See, in Britain is a monarchical system because the king, the queen, they continue. They don't have fixed term. If there is a fixed term, then it is called republic. When the head of the state, that's why the American system, you have a republic system because the president is elected. It is also called a democratic system, both India and America, because the people are electing. When the people are electing, it is called democracy, by the people, for the people. And when the head of the state is an elected functionary, it is called republic. So both India and US are republic and democratic. They are both republic in nature and they are democratic democracies. And India is considered the largest democracy. Try to remember that. The preamble to the constitution was borrowed from the Objectives Resolution, and Objectives Resolution is introduced by Sri Jawaharlal Nehru. So, let us quickly look where it is. Anyway, fine. We'll look into it when it comes. So, remember that Objectives Resolutions was moved by Jawaharlal Nehru, and the preamble borrowed from Objective Resolution. Objective Resolution was silent as to the concept of which was as a democratic, which was inserted into preamble by the Constituent Assembly. So in the Objective Resolution, democratic was not there. Sovereign, republic, all that was there, but democratic was not there. It was later added by the Constituent Assembly. Universal adult franchise means everyone above 18 years gets to vote. Shows that India is a country which is a democratic. So back then it was not like this. Even when Gandhiji was in South Africa, everybody did not have the right to vote. Women did not have the right to vote, and only a few limited people had the right to vote back then. But now all democracies, there is universal adult franchise. So who proposed preamble before the drafting committee? So as we have seen, Jawaharlal Nehru ji, who moved the objectives resolution, he also proposed the preamble. Next, the preamble of our constitution reads: "We, the people of India, in a constituent assembly, adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this. Uh, where is this? Adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. All this is very important. Fine, we'll stop for now. We'll continue the next session from 101.